Howdy and welcome back to Celebrating Vintage Model Kits. Today we have another Aurora kit. This one is of the North American F-107 fighter bomber. It's actually F-107A. Didn't have an official name, but it was nicknamed the Super Saber. The Ultra Saber was another name that was sometimes used for it, but it never actually had an official name. So this is one of their later kits. They tried making some cheaper price points. I mean, Aurora was one of the cheaper kits to begin with, but they wanted to hit an even cheaper price point. So they made a series of much smaller kits in a much smaller box that would retail for 29 cents as opposed to the 79, 89, 99 cent price points. And so they really wanted to go after an even cheaper one. I mean, this is like maybe one week's worth of allowance, maybe even less. So let's take a look at this kit and see what we got. So we've got beautiful artwork on the cover. The F-107 taking off, going up into the sky. This artwork was done by the famous Joe Catula. He did quite a bit of artwork for Aurora. You got this is the 1963 issue of the kit, so it's just the oval with the Aurora name. It doesn't have any of the Aurora Borealis, in the background that you see in some of the earlier kits. This is a 63 issue of it. It was first issued in 1968. I'm sorry, 1958, and it was issued a few more times on that. We'll talk about that a little bit more at the end. So we've got a lithograph sheet that's been glued over a hard box. Got your side panel here. This is dated 58, which was again the original issue of the kit, but this actual issuing of this kit was from 63. Got your end panel here. By then it looks like the kit had gone up to 50 cents, which was still a lot less expensive than some of their other kits. Repeat of the top artwork. Here's the other end, same artwork again. And then we've got similar on the other side. Let's open it up and take a look inside. So you can see the lithograph brought over, glued down. This was all hand done, by the way. So let's take a look at the instructions. Set the decals aside. So these instructions, it's kit number 295, by the way. Instructions are also dated 58. So it's kind of a one piece. There's not much to this kit. They're trying to hit that low price point. So you get a little bit of information about how to put your kit together. A little bit of history of the F-107 here. And photograph of the completed model, it looks like. And then basically two steps. Putting the fuselage together. And then the wings and everything else. They're suggesting using Aurora cement. And looks like they had their own paint here. Looks like, or is this Pactra? No, it says Aurora enamel. They look like little Pactra bottles, but I guess it's Aurora made their own paint. So simple instructions. There aren't even part numbers. It's just wing, stabilizer, tail, an Aurora base, information on how to apply decals. On the back side, large information about decal application, and surprisingly not a whole list of a bunch of other Aurora kits. Aurora is really good about promoting a lot of their stuff, but not in this case. They're just talking about their model motoring series, which Aurora had gotten into in the early 60s. He gotten heavy into the track racing, and kind of hurt him in the long run because it took off really fast, and then died out really fast. And Aurora had gotten all in on that, and that supposedly is something that really affected their bottom line when that bottom fell out of that market. So that's it for the instructions. We've got our decals here. They've yellowed a little bit. And gotten a little bit of wear on them, it looks like, as well too. And this is U.S. Air Force 55119, which is for aircraft 55-5119. This was the second production one out of the 3 prototypes that had been ordered. The first one, 5118, that one first flew in let's see, when was it? 10 September 56. It actually went Mach 1.03 on its first flight. The second one, which is represented by these decals, 5119, that one flew on 28 November 56, and the second aircraft ended up being used for the weapons testing. It was the second of the 3. The 3 aircraft were in competition. This aircraft was built in competition to get the next U.S. Air Force tactical fighter bomber contract. It was up against the F-105 Thunder Chief. So they built 3 of these to be tested and to do a fly-off against the F-105. And as you can surmise, the F-105 ended up winning that competition. So the additional pre-production aircraft were never built. 2 of them, the first aircraft and the third aircraft, ended up getting sent over to NACA, which is the precursor for NASA, for some testing. It was used since it had an interesting new inlet system, which we'll talk about a little later as well. And they ended up using them for a while. They actually used them as chase planes for a while, and then they finally got retired. So this particular aircraft, 5119, just went straight to the Air Force Museum after that initial testing. So it went over there and became part of Wright-Patterson's, or the Air Force Museum at Wright-Patterson Airfield in Dayton, Ohio. The third aircraft is, I believe, at Pima, and I'm not sure what happened to the first aircraft. It may have crashed in one of the NACA testings. So I'm going to show you some images of the actual aircraft itself here. Now let's get into the kit itself. This is a pretty pristine copy of this kit. It's a fairly rare kit. And let's start out with the fuselage parts. So it's pretty devoid of any extra detail. Very heavy inscribed panel lines on there, really out of scale. You've got molded on area for the markings. Some molded on area for where some of the paint job would have gone. You got your gun ports. And it appears that this kit was short shot. Not enough plastic was put inside the mold, and it did not complete the whole nose piece. So if you're going to be building this thing, you're going to have to figure out what to do with that. But pretty sad that this got short shot. So that's your fuselage. Got one sprue here that's got one wing, and it's got the molded on markings. Very heavy lines for, looks like slats on the front of the wing and elevons maybe, and part of the stand. Your other sprue has got the tail with the 55119 on it, nose probe, and not sure what that other little part is. You get your exhaust, one of the other wings, tail. I think this is an all-flying tail. It does have an ejector pin mark right in the middle of it. That's kind of annoying. And then you've got the Aurora stand. In this case, molded in the silver of the aircraft itself, but the same kind of look, you know, with the Aurora globe, done in solid silver plastic. Then we have your canopy. Pretty thick, especially for the scale, but you have literally nothing inside this, so it's not like you need to see through this to see anything. You do have a very annoying ejector pin mark right in the middle of that sucker. So it's a very, very simple kit. Not much to it. So you may have noticed something unusual about this aircraft. It has the air intake coming, you know, right above where the cockpit is at, which was something new. I think that long piece goes in there as a splitter. So this type of air intake, the F-100, you know, had the big scoop in the front of the nose, but the Air Force had demanded that the aircraft be able to carry a semi-conformal nuclear weapon, and so, which I guess this is being represented here by this molded on piece here. So when the Air Force, you know, made that priority, that forced them to try to figure out a different way to get the air intake to feed the engine. So they went to putting it at the top. So it's unusual. It was also the first intake that used a variable area inlet duct, or VAID, which is now actually commonplace in most jet aircraft, being able to control the air coming in through the duct. So this is the first aircraft to have that VAID. And something else that was unusual with it, since you typically your canopies would go up, but you can't do that with that. So this one was set up with a system where the canopy just went straight up. So a little bit of a different way of gaining access. And it did have a regular ejection seat. It was pretty powerful, but the ejection seat did go up, as opposed to some of the other ones that sometimes we see where they were shooting the guys out the bottom, which didn't work out so well. If you were low altitude and you're wanting to punch out, you get shot straight into the ground. This one did still have an upwards ejecting seat. So that's about it with the kit. Not too much to be seen here because it's a pretty small, simple kit. Aurora produced this one for a few years, you know, 58. They did release it a couple of times. They also released it through Aurora in England, which was Aurora Playcraft in 58. And then Aurora Netherlands, the Dutch, did release this kit in 69. So this didn't get a whole lot of issue. When Aurora got folded up and a lot of the Aurora kits were going to be shipped over to Monogram, there was a major train wreck with the molds ending up, you know, out in the mud, you know, from this train wreck. So a lot of the Aurora molds got lost, never made it over there. And it's believed that this is one of them that got lost. So there have not been any other reissues of this kit. So this kit's a fairly rare kit, and was about one of the only ways of building an F-107 for a long time. There was one other one around that time that was put out by a Japanese company called Nito in 1964. That was in 1/132nd scale. Oh, and if I didn't mention, I don't think I mentioned earlier, this scales out to 1/114th. So it's a really odd scale. It's bigger than 1/100th and way smaller than 1/144th. So kind of an odd scale for that. And then that Nito one was 1/132nd. And there was nothing else for quite a while. There was a resin kit in 48 scale that was put out by a company called Collect Air in 97. Then there was some vacuform issues. The old Air model that did a lot of vacuform kits of kind of strange aircraft in the 70s. They did a 1/72nd version. That same moldings ended up with KR in the 80s. And then finally in 2001, there was another regular regular plastic kit put out by a company called Monochrome in 1/72 scale. And then that mold ended up getting sold to Trumpeter, who popped it out in 2002, and then most recently in 2017. So not a lot of kits of the F-107 if you're looking to build this, but it is out there. And so if you want to build something strange and unusual, this is a good kit for you. So I will end right now, and as usual, show you some images of the other issues of this kit. Since there's hardly any, I'll show you a couple images of the newer issues from other makers of F-107s as well, if you're interested in getting yourself a kit of an F-107. So let us know in the comments, as usual, have you built this kit before? What was it like? Did you enjoy it? Was yours full shot and not have any short shot parts on it? And if you enjoyed this. Well, that's about it for today. So thank you very much for watching, and have yourself a great day.